Welcome to the Statesboro Herald's 2014 Pigskin Pick'em, brought to you by Seasons of Japan Restaurant and Dr. Troy M. Lawhorn at Statesboro Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery and Dental Implant Center.
And welcome to week 3 of the Pigskin Pick'ems. I'm Josh Aubrey, your host, being joined as always by Statesboro Herald's Matt Yogas, Mike Anthony, and Eddie Ledbetter. You love them, you know them, you read them, and you get to see how you pick against them. Right now, Josh 9-7, Matt Yogas 9-7, Eddie Ledbetter 10-6, and Mike Anthony leading the way with a record of 12-4. We don't have the yellow jersey for you. We'll have to get that later. Maybe you can.
I've got neon green. It's
there you go, neon green. All right, let's get to this week's games. We have. Usually we're picking Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech. They're playing each other, so we added a Josh's pick for this week. Let's get into it. Begin with Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech. Arguments going around if Georgia Southern were to win this game. Is it the biggest in school history? Probably would be. Matt, your thoughts first of all on this game right now. The line has been dropping. It's very similar to the NC State game. Now it's 20 points. Georgia Southern underdog, your thoughts?
I was going to say, I've read this story before. Georgia Southern playing an ACC team. The line starts out at 24, 25 points. Everybody bets Georgia Southern. It starts to drop. That's exactly what happened against NC State. That's what's happening against Georgia Tech. And it is very hard for Georgia Tech's offense to blow somebody out by that much, especially a competent team. Georgia Southern obviously competent. They scored 83 points last week, lost by 1 to an ACC foe. So I think that's a crazy number. I think I'm taking Georgia Southern all the way to cover, if not win, because Georgia Tech has been very turnover prone this year, and Georgia Southern's going to capitalize on that.
We are picking against the lines here, just in case people thought we're picking them to win.
Who would ever think that we were picking straight up in these things? That's ridiculous.
Some people do, unfortunately. Mike Anthony, your thoughts?
I think you could go back to week 1 of Pigskin Pick'em, and whatever speech I gave about Georgia Southern playing NC State, I can give the same exact one here. Georgia Southern plays up to big opponents. This one I think is one of the biggest of them all. Not only are they on FBS turf now, but they're in state against a team that they're going to be recruiting against. They're going to be judged up to the Georgia and Georgia Tech standard from here on out. It would be a huge win if they could get it, but just like NC State, I don't think they'll quite get the win. I think the depth hurts them again, but 20 points, I just don't see it. Georgia Southern's going to play really well. They're going to keep this thing close for a long time. They'll easily get in under that 20.
But you're picking them to lose.
I'm picking them to lose, but to cover.
All right, we got 2 Georgia Southern picks against the spread. Eddie Ledbetter.
And now we have 3.
All right.
I just don't see Georgia Tech beating Georgia Southern by more than 20 points. Given the first Georgia Tech's performance in the first 2 weeks has not been great.
Wofford covered 20. I just want to point that out. Wofford lost by 19.
That's right. So, and that game was a 38-point spread. I think the thing that's going to help Georgia Southern against the spread is the fact that they run running-based offense for the most part. So this game shouldn't get out of hand. I think it'll be within the 20 as well. So we're all going to take Georgia Southern in game 1 against Georgia Tech. Now, we're going to the Sun Belt game of the week, I guess. At least our Sun Belt first game. We have a couple on this one. Air Force going to Georgia State. Georgia State is an 11-point underdog. And right now, they just narrowly lost their game with New Mexico, where they could be on top. Instead, they're not. Your thoughts on this game, Matt Yogas?
They got some Georgia Dome magic against Abilene Christian, eked that one out at the end. They didn't get the Georgia Dome magic against New Mexico State, and now they're playing Air Force, which is a real college football team. They're in the Dome again. I guess they play all their games at home this year. It's kind of crazy, but
crickets are chirping as they play.
Crickets are chirping. Air Force will hopefully bring in some fans to watch this football game so somebody sees it. But 11.5 seems a little low for this spread. I don't see Georgia State being able to stop Air Force. I think Air Force wins this one by at least 2 touchdowns.
Mike.
Yeah, that was the most Georgia State thing ever. They come in with an opportunity to finish week 2 on top of the Sun Belt. Instead, they are now back where they've always been, at the bottom. Air Force, it won't matter one way or another in the conference standings, but it won't matter in the win-loss overall standings. They're going to tack another one onto that L column. Air Force is going to run all over Georgia State, covered easy.
Eddie.
Oh, I agree with that. Air Force may beat them by 40 points this week.
It just seems like that line is just way too low. Why is it 11.5? I have 11 on the board. So we're going to go 11.5?
I got 11.5 on the newspaper. So.
You know what? I'm going to go, for some reason, I'm taking Georgia State to cover. Not to win this game, but I'm taking them. Everybody else is going with Air Force. Air Force One. Now we got Louisiana Lafayette going up against Ole Miss. Ole Miss playing pretty well right now. They're up in the top 20. I think they're right around 10 or 11 in the country. Matt, your thoughts on Lafayette, who should be, a lot of people thought, the top team in the league, going up against Ole Miss, getting 28 points.
Yeah, that's a big spread. Ole Miss seems like they've been hanging out in the top 15 a lot the last 2-3 years, and it seems like eventually somebody always knocks them off their pedestal. I don't think that's going to be Lafayette, but this is an important opportunity for Lafayette to go out, prove the Sun Belt is, gaining momentum like we've been talking about throughout the offseason. I think they're going to be fired up for this one. I think they're going to be more fired up than Ole Miss, so I think that 28 is a little bit too high. I don't know that Lafayette's going to go up there and win, but I think they cover the 28.
Mike.
Hey, you talk about what Lafayette could do for the Sun Belt Conference. It's what Lafayette can do for itself. Last week they looked pretty horrible against Louisiana Tech, getting blown out. I believe a 28-point game there as well, 48-20. A bunch of miscues. I think they bounce back. I think Ole Miss is a great team. If not for some of those powers in the SEC West, they could make some noise. I think Ole Miss gets out by 28 at one point during this game. Lafayette gets back within that 28 with a late score, so I'll go with the Raging Cajun.
Eddie Ledbetter.
I'll go with Ole Miss. I think the SEC, the Western Division this year is pretty strong. Ole Miss looked really good against Vanderbilt, although Vanderbilt's not that good, obviously. But I think Ole Miss will cover.
All right, I'm with you there, Eddie Ledbetter. Ole Miss, a lot better than Louisiana Tech, and then, as Mike said, Louisiana Tech would have covered this. Ole Miss, a top 20 team. I think they're going to be ready to play. I like Ole Miss, so we have Josh and Eddie going with Ole Miss, and we have Yogus and Mike going with Louisiana Lafayette. All right, Army. Last week, big victory for Jeff Monken. This week, a big step up in competition. They're 28-point underdogs on the road at Stanford. Your thoughts on this one there, Matt Yogus?
We talk about those big point spreads with option teams being scary. Army's on the losing end of this one. Jeff Monken's coming up there with a game plan. He knows what he's doing. He's done it, with Paul Johnson. He's done it by himself at Georgia Southern. He's got a game plan, but Stanford's got the players. That's the biggest. The talent gap's just going to be too big. I like Stanford to cover the 28. I don't think it's going to be hard. And best of luck to Jeff Monken up there. I'd love to see him pull an upset, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Mike.
Yeah, Army's not going to be scared of the venue. They're not going to be scared of the players. All that self-confidence is going to serve them well when they go back across the country with a 30-point loss.
Eddie.
I think Stanford will cover. Yes.
In many ways, you're kind of almost betting if Army will score in this game in a lot of ways, because Stanford's not really a high-powered offense, but 28 still seems like a safe bet. I think I'm going to go with Stanford as well, which means if you're a gambler, go against us, because typically we don't all win this one. So we're all going with Stanford here. And next up, the Georgia Bulldogs had a week off after their big rout in week one. South Carolina's been limping around, lost the first one, had to come back and did not cover this past week, and now this week they're back at home. Your thoughts there, Matt Yogus, as Georgia rolls into town as a 5.5-point favorite?
Well, Steve Spurrier's kind of built a religion out of beating Georgia throughout his career. I think Georgia's going to be in it in the first quarter, but Spurrier pulls ahead, wins 212-3. So I think South Carolina's going to cover.
South Carolina, Mike.
I got to disagree with you there. I think Georgia looks so impressive. I think a lot of people were willing to write off the Texas A&M loss by South Carolina due to Texas A&M being better than advertised. But when you can only beat East Carolina by 10 and you struggle the whole way, that's a big red flag. I think Georgia was better than advertised. I like the Bulldogs big.
Eddie.
Georgia, absolutely, for all the reasons that Mike Anthony just said.
I thought this line would be a lot higher than it was. I mean, when I look at it, I was thinking it might even be double digits, Georgia. But to be in 5.5, that worries me a little. I'm going to go with Matt Yogus. I don't think South Carolina maybe doesn't win the game, but maybe they keep it within 3. So I'm taking South Carolina.
I'm giving Georgia 219 points.
Yogus. And then we got Matt.
Savannah State covered that.
Matt and Mike. All right, now we're into our high school game. Statesboro High, after a loss, 0-2 on the season, they're off again. Have 2 bye weeks already. Now we're going to start off with the Portal Panthers. 2-0, leading the way for Bullitt County right now. Big step up in competition, though. They've got ECI at home coming up Friday night. Our Friday night live game here at Statesboro Herald. Yogus, your thoughts?
This is a great opportunity for Portal to put it all together. They're 2-0. They're off to a great start. They're riding momentum. Then they get ECI, the big bad powerhouse in the region. It's a 15-point spread. I think Trent Thomas by himself could go out there and keep it closer than that. I like Portal to cover the 15.
All right, Matt, Mike.
Well, Trent Thomas is going to be busy because ECI, as always, has a lot of weapons. They've been a wet blanket for Portal before. Even though Portal, you remember, every few years it seems like they're due for a big upset over ECI. I don't think that's quite what happens this year. Later in the year, maybe they can do it, but so early in the year, they're still trying to figure out that offense. ECI gets ahead early, stays there. They cover the 15.
Eddie.
I've been giving Portal a little bit of love in the first couple of weeks, but I don't see them staying with ECI.
Taking away the love.
Yeah, I'm taking away the love this week because ECI is going to be just too much.
Well,
I saw Portal win at ECI on homecoming.
That's
Remember
right.
that?
That's
Didn't
David
Joe
Newton.
the Toe Lockley kick?
Joe the Toe was a big factor in
Yes,
that
he
game.
did.
He kicked a long field
Kicked a
goal.
long field goal in that game. Maybe this one comes down to a field goal too. Who knows? 15 points is tough against a good ECI team. I'm going to go with Portal because of many reasons. But we're going to go with Portal, and Yogus went with Portal, and then Mike and Eddie both with ECI. Southeast Bullock last week shut out. A little surprising on the road at South Effingham, but didn't look all that good in their first game of the season. This week, Southeast Bullock and Bryan County, a Thursday night game. Yogus, your thoughts on this one?
I'd love to be able to employ the Eddie Ledbetter strategy and pick after Mike, but since that is not a factor, I'm going to go ahead and say I think SEB is going to be fired up in this one. They're on TV. They're under the lights on Thursday. It's a big game. Everybody's going to be watching. I think they use that excitement a little bit, and I think they get the win against Bryan County. I'm going to take SEB to cover the 4 and win the game.
Mike?
Yeah, SEB's performance last week, a bit of a gut punch, a bit of a letdown. When that happens, I think you look to the coach to see how the team's going to respond. Pat Collins with a great track record no matter where he's been of getting his teams to play hard. So I think you see a team that responds really well. You mentioned the lights, the pomp and circumstance of it. Both teams want to win. Both teams need a win. SEB gets the win. They do it by more than 4.
Eddie?
So you pick SEB, Mike?
SEB.
SEB.
All right, well, last week, Bryan County let a lead slip away in the fourth quarter. Claxton came back and beat them. This is a lower classification team. I think Southeast Bullock is a good team in AAA, and I think they'll definitely cover. So I guess we're all going with the Yellow Jackets in this one. Wrapping things up, the Bullock Academy Gators coming back home. They lost last week at Robert Toombs in what was really a shootout. They're 2-1 on the year, welcoming a team in Gatewood who hasn't won a game this year.
Yeah,
18-point spread.
Bullock Academy really surprised me last week. I think we all kind of weren't sure what to expect from that game, and they played pretty well, all things considered. 18 points. Probably seems like a lot on paper, but I think Gatewood's not bringing a whole lot. We saw BA kind of just roll in the first 2 weeks of the season. I think they do it again and cover the 18.
Mike.
Now, I believe you said that BA coach Terrence Hennessy said this would be the best 0-3 team.
The best 0-3
that
team.
BA plays. Well, you're still 0-3. One of those losses was by over 50 points. Might have been 60 points. However, they played some good schools pretty close. So this one really tough to call. I think BA's offense gets it done. They get the win. I'm not sure if they can cover the 18, though.
So you're taking
I'm going to go Gatewood. I should have probably told you
I
that
think
before.
BA's offense is good, and I also think they're good enough to cover the spread, so I'm thinking BA.
All right, I'm going to go with the points, taking Gatewood as Mike did, because I think they are a little bit better. I think BA wins this game, but maybe not by 18. So me and Mike going up with BA, or we're going with Gatewood rather, and Yogus and Eddie with BA. All right. 3 high school games, 2 on Friday night, 1 on Thursday, and all the Georgia Southern and all the other college games on Saturday. That'll wrap it up for this week's Pigskin Pick'ems. We thank you for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.